I'm a great believer that if you can see it, you can be it.
Me and my friend saw Ian Wright, we saw ourselves in him, and that gave me the kind of passion to follow football.
And going back to Lauren James, I mean, I think she's having the impact what we want, that if you see it, you can be it.
You could go anywhere in the world and talk about football, and most people, you know, light up or have some connection.
When I was at school, girls had to play netball, and that was it. There was no football. I played football in my break. And the fact that you support Arsenal, you can go off the people really quickly, can't you?
Hello and welcome back to the Social Matters podcast. We are three social workers talking about social matters. I'm Fran.
Hi, I'm Nadia.
Hi, and I'm Eugene.
We have I'm so excited. We've got such a special guest with us today that I don't want to kind of keep us talking for too long. We have the brilliant Kerry Davis with us today, who was the first black woman to play football for England, which is amazing. The chat that we were just having like off air was like talking about when you play at Wembley. I was like, because I'm going to Wembley not to play on Sunday to watch the Women's FA Cup final. So the thought that you have played there is so exciting. Whenever we have guests on, you know, you're thinking about a bio, and it's one of those that makes you just think, Fran, you've not achieved much in your life. But props to you, Kerry. But you were the first black woman to play for England, and you've also won loads of awards. Recently, you were inducted into the National Football Museum Hall of Fame, and you received the Keith Alexander Award at the Football Blacklist event in April 2024 for being a pioneer in women's football. There's so much more that we're going to talk about as well in terms of all your achievements, but just welcome, and we're so excited to have you here. So thank you for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. And you've come down today to London, traversed the lands in your car. Thank you very much. So to kick us off, so you were the first black woman to play for England. Could you just kind of take us back to that moment and share what it meant to you personally and professionally?
So the heritage thing, it didn't really, sort of affect me in any way. It wasn't, perhaps didn't realise it. But to play for England, I always wanted to play at the highest level and be the best version of myself. But it's only in later years that I think it was Professor Jean Williams. She was doing research on the women's game, the history of the women's game, and she realised that I was the first player of African Caribbean heritage to play for England, and that was about 5 years ago, so it stemmed from there. But as I was playing football as a youngster, got into the regional squads, played at club level. There were not many players of African Caribbean heritage playing in the women's game. So when I made my debut for England, I knew I was the first, but just didn't really talk about it.
Wow. So 5 years ago, so quite recent, I guess, that was more nationally recognised as well. And how was that? Did this person contact you, or?
I think it started with the FA approached Jean to do some work, and we gave sort of a talk to the staff at the FA on the women's side, and she did an interview with me, and it was on Sky Sports, and that's where it came from, that interview with Jean Williams, and like it sort of snowballed from there. And I think as time's gone on, there are people who are interested in the diversity of the game, and then it's just snowballed into a lot of people know now.
Which is so good and important, because I didn't realise that it was only 5 years ago that it's actually came to like general understanding that you were the first black woman to represent England, which is quite like significant that it's only happened 5 years ago when you played such a long time ago.
I suppose, as you were saying, Kerry, I guess part of the recognition maybe 5 years ago was that rightly so, more interested in the women's game and thinking about diversity in the women's game, which is a nice segue to why we are all in this uniform. So we're going to be talking about the women's game today and kind of the importance of diversity and equality in the game. But this is my team's new kit. So Hot Flush are the team. We're over 35 women non-binary football team in Hackney, East London. But the most exciting bit, the most exciting bit is that we, Social Matters, have sponsored the team. Proud sponsors. So given that this is a topic about women, non-binary football today, we wanted to wear the kit. So that's why we're here, all dressed the same.
Yeah, I didn't even realise what I was wearing. I was like, oh yeah, we're all dressed the same. But yes, so thanks, Kerry, for kind of sharing that, because I was just thinking about you being the first black woman to represent England. The question that I had is, how did it feel to navigate your career with so little representation of black women in football at the time, and what impact do you think your presence has had on future generations? Quite a big question, but yeah.
So I grew up in an area that there was not many people of African Caribbean heritage. So I'm going to say that my dad really didn't talk about his upbringing, background. He was born in the Caribbean. I would say that my mum did most of the work raising us. So living in a white area, even though I love my heritage and it's very important to me, we didn't really talk about it or think about it a lot growing up. So your question to where do you think I impacted on others?
Yeah.
Was that the question?
Yeah, it was when thinking about what impact do you think that your presence has had on generations that have come after you?
I really don't know. I think that's for others to say. I don't know. I'm a great believer that if you see it, you can be it. I love that when people say that. I think it's very, very true, because my role models were mostly male footballers. I can remember Pele, players like that. The Brazilian team had strong representation of players of African heritage. So I think, I don't know. It's for others to answer if I made a difference or not.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you say on that representation, because I saw a photo of you with Lauren James, and I guess as a kind of a lover of the women's game, that was really striking for me. Of that, like seeing you two together, that was really kind of poignant, and in terms of that representation. So I just thought how powerful that must be for Lauren, but also kind of black and brown girls who want to play, seeing you two. So I guess that stood out for me. That I think, as you said. They see that, it's kind of a lovely legacy to leave.
I also think I forgot to say, I mean, when I was playing, there was no coverage on TV. So the fact that nobody knew that I was the first, it doesn't really surprise me in some ways. And most things would be in the written press, wouldn't they? And you're not going to say things like, oh, a girl of African Caribbean heritage playing for England. You're not really going to be saying that. I think the television and the media coverage now, it helps the game. And going back to Lauren James, I mean, I think she's having the impact what we want, that if you see it, you can be it. And she's such a good person. She's a fabulous player. And when I met her, I thought, right, they paired us off. It was for a photo shoot, and they paired us off. And I thought, oh, I've got the quietest, but she's a good girl. She talks to you. We spoke a bit about the community. And she's a good girl, as well as a brilliant player.
That's lovely. That kind of insight, and again, maybe one-to-one as well. I can imagine.
And she turned up to the Blacklist Awards as well, and that tells me a lot about people that. you know, now they're getting paid a lot of money for turning up for things. And, you know, she came to the Blacklist Awards, and that tells me a lot about the person she is.
Yeah. And it's so, because I grew up watching the men's game, and when thinking about representation, Ian Wright was significant for me as a black Londoner and an authentic, like, I think when me and my friends saw Ian Wright, we saw ourselves in him, and that kind of gave me the kind of passion to follow football. Wasn't good enough to make it professional or even semi-professional, but I think what you're saying about representation is so important. So I can only imagine for like players like Lauren James in the current England squad, the significance of you or your story, even if they didn't see you, just your story being the first black woman in the England squad, to how powerful that would be. And then Lauren carrying the baton. There's something also about international tournaments, what that does to people, like when the Lionesses won Euros the last time, what that does to people wanting to play, and representation is really important. So I think that's great, really important.
Well, that links to my next question. So yeah, just so looking at the women's game kind of today, and thinking about kind of diversity and recognition, how do you think that's like kind of changed since you were sort of playing?
It's quite interesting because I went to the 95 World Cup, and when
Wow.
they
Sorry, I'm just like, I love this.
I think that people think that back then that there were no players of African Caribbean heritage, but when I went to the 95 World Cup, there was myself, there was Hope Powell, there was Brenda Sampari, there was Mary Phillip, and there was Sammy Britton. So that's 5. And when you look at the squad now, it's not often that 5 players of African Caribbean heritage are in the squad at the minute. The squad's just been picked. You've got Nikita Paris, haven't you? Jess Carter. The goalkeeper, Keating.
Kiara
Keating. Out of this squad, I think that's about it, off the top of my head. So that's what, 4, 5. So I think I'm going to say then the representation has not improved or gone beyond of what it was before. The reason for that, I don't know. I think when I was at school, girls had to play netball, and that was it. There was no football. I played football in my break time, lunchtime, then when I went home. So there was no girls teams, and for many years it's been like that. So to actually expect that to go right through to the top, it's not going to happen unless you've got it happening at grassroots level. So I would say the representation, has it improved? I have a glance at what the under-19s, under-23s are doing. There's 2 or 3 players in each squad, so it's not exploding into what we would like it to be.
Sure.
But, you know, it's going to take time, because I think the women's game anyway is probably between 50 and 100 years behind the men's game. And there's no doubt about that. So I think we'll get there. We'll get there, but there's still things that need putting into place to help it along. The FA have done a lot of work, and they admit themselves they haven't got everything right, but I think they're working towards that. I think England is one of the better nations in trying to progress the women's game.
Right.
And that's really good. And also, and I don't know, just going back to the point you mentioned in like 95 when the World Cup was on, that was right after the 94 World Cup, which is the first World Cup that was significant in my head. But there was no, I remember watching the 94 World Cup at 3 o'clock in the morning, but the 95 Women's World Cup wasn't on. Well, I didn't see it on TV. If it was on TV, then
They showed a few glimpses on Match of the Day.
okay.
Oh, okay.
and I actually remember Gary Lineker. They showed a few minutes, and then his words were, "Let's get back to the real football now."
Oh,
or some
wow.
words to that effect. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So that was it. Yeah, they showed a few glimpses, and that was it.
Yeah. And you would hope, like, now there's much more coverage on TV, and I think that was going to be a really, like, a big contributing factor to hopefully getting more representation.
Yeah, I think the fact that they won the Euros, that was the big thing for the women's game. That sent it to the next level. And the fact that the women won a trophy before the men did.
Exactly. Thank you. No, you're actually a real supporter of the women's game. To be fair, I'm looking at you, just the only man in the room.
Oh no, give me the looks.
No, you are a big supporter and ally. And actually, my summer holiday this summer, Kerry, is going to the Euros. So I'm going to Switzerland. That's going to be my 2-week holiday, isn't it?
Well.
See you there. Have you got tickets for? I just went all out, and you just ring and panic. Quarters, semi-final, final.
No, so I've just the group games. I'm going. I think it's on the 8th of July, coming back on the 15th. So I've got the Wales game.
Yeah.
And the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And one of Italy's.
Nice. We'll pass each other because I do the 18th till the 28th, so I'm doing. So I might not even see England, but no, come on, Lionesses. So yeah, I'm doing the latter ones, but yeah, just really kind of reflecting on your point of, in some ways we have come a long way, and it's to celebrate that. And as you said, I think the Euros really did that for the women's game, but actually, in terms of black and brown players, still a long way to go. And actually, that's really stood out for me that there were 5 in 1995 and 30 years later, still only 5, and the work to still be done. And, I think that is so, so important. And you see that in some of the teams in the WSL, they're still predominantly white. And, from any marginalised identity, but in this context, talking about race, if you don't see anybody in the team that looks like you, are you going to want to necessarily go for that team? Probably not. Because some teams are a lot more visibly diverse, but again, international players. So I often notice that when I'm playing. Arsenal ladies is very white, just to name one. I go to see them. I was there at the Emirates when they played Man United. But yeah, there are certain teams that still have a long way to go, I'd say, in terms of
I think
racial
also
representation.
You've got to develop those players to get them to elevate them to that level. And maybe I don't know the answer to that, but I think also a lot of the top teams, they buy players from Europe, don't they? They've got a lot of players from Europe, and that makes a difference. And if you're going to have Scandinavian players, then you're not going to have any representation from Africa.
Yeah. Just kind of, again, thinking about continued kind of diversity and representation and inclusivity. As a previous player, there's been the recent FA decision to ban trans women in the game, which has kind of been in the media and press a lot in the last couple of weeks. Just wondering what your sort of thoughts are or reflections on this, and kind of, I suppose what it says for the direction women's football is taking in terms of inclusion and representation.
So on the ban, so my knowledge on why they've made the decision and how they come to the decision, I don't know anything about at all. So for me, in my opinion, they say football, the saying is football is for all. Football is for everybody. You've made this decision. Now, I think you need to support people. You're going to impact their well-being. Because for me, football was my get-out clause. When I was at school, we had a horrendous time, my family, more so my brother and sister. Me, because I'd just get my football and off I'd go at break and lunchtime. So I got away from the negativity that was at school. And even when I'd play football with the boys at home, it gave me a freedom. So I think you need to put something into place to help people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know all the ins and outs, so I probably can't answer your question. But if you're going to make that decision, you really need to support people or put something into place so everybody can play football still.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a what's the word, like, connecting thing, football. You could go anywhere in the world and talk about football, and most people, light up or have some connection. And as you said, that link to community, connection, well-being, escape in some, if there's other stuff going on, just to give you that freedom. It's so important. And the impact of that being taken away from people.
And it was it's quite striking for me, because we get into, with that ban, we get into a place where we were like, okay, there is a certain group of people in the world that are not allowed to play, like in this, we're talking about the UK and the FA, that are not allowed to play football. And that for me is quite significant, because to kind of ban people from doing something that gives the impact that you're talking about there, Kerry, with football being an escape. Even now, being 40 and playing football now, like, I get a buzz after just an hour on a Sunday playing with friends. And
He drops a 40 for you to look shocked, but
that wasn't
one. No, sorry,
that wasn't a time I was looking for compliments.
No,
but if you want to throw it at me, it's fine. But to if somebody were to say to me, no, Eugene, you can no longer play, I'll be like, you're taking away a significant part of who I am and who I've always been all my life. So I think that idea of like banning, I think it feels not right for me, and to take something away from people, especially when thinking about trying to, like you said, football is for all, that point as well. Just moving on and thinking about the next question, for you, Kerry, who or what kept you motivated throughout your career, especially when facing obstacles that you went through beyond the pitch?
Just the love of playing and the passion for playing. That's what kept me going. And wanted to play at the highest level and pit myself against, the best players, be the best version of myself. Football was, even though I didn't get paid, it was a massive, massive part of my life. And I just loved playing. It was just like no other sport like it, game like it for me. And second part of your question, did I answer that?
Yeah, you did. Is that who or what kept you motivated in your career, especially off the pitch as well?
Off the pitch. Yeah, it kept me out of trouble, I guess. And I made some of my closest friends playing football, because some of the people I went to school with, I was glad to keep away from them. So playing football, I could keep away from the people that didn't treat my family very well. So that was a good motivation. I was free.
Yeah, nice. Well, just out of interest, I've got two questions that came into my head, which is not the questions that we were going to ask, but I just realised I don't know what team you support, because this is quite crucial for me as an Arsenal fan. And also, awkward. So, okay. So I don't know that question. And then also, just out of interest, because you're talking about playing at the highest level, like what was your best moment in football?
What I had that question, like your best goal. Like,
So what team do you support first? And then
I don't support a team. I was born in Stoke-on-Trent, so I want Stoke to do well and Port Vale to do well, but I keep an eye on them, but I don't support them. Don't really support anybody. The only time I get emotional is probably when Brazil play.
Oh, nice.
Because my dad brought me up on watching Brazil.
Nice.
And that's the only time I get emotional. The fact that you support Arsenal, you can draw people really quickly, can't you?
Love it.
So when the women play in the Champions League final, I'll be supporting Arsenal without shadow of a doubt.
Oh, good. Huh?
No, that's the women's team.
I'll take anything. I'm supporting
100%. And I've met Leah Williamson, and she's delightful. She's brilliant role model on and off the pitch, and she's actually one of my favourite players, if not my favourite player, because she's a really good person. I like the way I can see why she's the captain of England. Yeah. So 100%, I want Arsenal to win the Women's Champions League.
Okay.
That's great.
What was a couple more just on that before? What was it like playing at Wembley? And best moment or goal?
Right, so I played at the old Wembley. To me, just the same, because it's on the same piece of land, isn't it? It's just that they've improved the surroundings. So it was the pitch, like I said to you before, it was just like, it was weird looking at it. Not one weed on there. Every blade of grass the same size. It was just like absolutely beautiful. So yeah, it was. I enjoyed playing there. More about the pitch than the surroundings or that it was Wembley. It was just like this immaculate piece of grass that I'd never seen before. So then I would say the moments that stick with me, probably we played Denmark in the semi-final of the Euros, and they were the favourites, and it was over 2 legs, and we played them at Crewe for the home leg, and we beat them 2-1, and I scored one of the goals. I think it was the second goal, and it's the best goal that I've ever scored. So that always sticks out.
Yeah.
Nice.
What year was this?
So that would have been probably about 84, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I was going to see if I can find clips of it, but I won't.
You know what? They filmed the game, and it was at Crewe Alexandra's ground, and they filmed it, and I had a video of it, and my parents lent it to a friend, and I never got it.
Oh, no.
way.
I try not to think about it because it just like makes me.
We need someone to dig that out.
Yeah, like it's got to be in the
I've asked
archives.
You know what? I've asked around, but I think it was just the club did it, not
Okay.
not like a BBC, ITV, anything like that. And I'm sure I've asked the players, most of the players, but no one's telling me that they've still got the old video. Yeah, I try not to think about it because it really
I bet.
upsets me.
But is the goal clear in your
I was gonna
head?
say,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's it.
Something that I wanted to ask is, you were saying how kind of football kind of kept you out of trouble, and you were super passionate about that, and just having the love for the game, is sort of what fueled you. Like, were your family quite football focused? Were you just a bit of an anomaly? You said a little bit that your dad used to.
Yeah, my dad loved football. He loved the Brazilians, but not everybody plays football like him. So he's not an avid watcher of every game. But when the World Cup comes around, and if Brazil turning out with a decent team, he'll watch them. My brother and my sister know. Okay. So I was like, Billy, no mates. So I used to bribe my sister to come and play football with me, so a packet of Maltesers or something like that.
Oh, wow.
I'd come and play with you for that. I was like, that's a good choice.
She'd come for about 2 minutes, and that was a lot. But where my mum and dad live, they still live in the same house now. It's not the first house that we grew up in. The first house where we grew up was a place called Sneed Green, and again, it was no diversity. All the Caribbean families knew each other. It was only about 8 Caribbean families, and then they moved house when I was about 9, and that's when none of us liked school, and that's what we got neighbours that didn't like this black man turning up and his kids. So there was a football field. So I walked down the bottom of my mum and dad's garden, and there was a football field there, and that's where I spent most of my time.
That's so good.
The football field, well, the field is still there. I just noticed last week when I was up there, there's planted trees where the pitch was. So it's not a pitch anymore. Yeah. But you could still play football there. And I mean, it was the worst surface in the world. It did us.
Oh. That's so great.
Well, we've kind of come to our final question now, and I suppose just like linked with, you talking about you playing as a child. Like what message do you have for young black girls that are playing football and, want to kind of, play to the highest level, or maybe not just really want to enjoy football? What message do you have for little black girls?
Well, I think if you love playing, play. Don't let anybody stop you. I was quite lucky when I grew, or blessed, should I say, that my mum and dad never stopped me from playing. And that's a good thing, because some parents, they don't want their daughters playing football. But now you've got those role models. It's normal for young girls to play football. You don't get any stick, or even there's lots of men and boys that support the women's game now. So my message is, play, and enjoy it more than anything. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Kerry. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just thank you so much. Honestly, been a pleasure chatting with you, and I'm just in awe and that you played at Wembley, and so exciting. So thank you. We have been 3 social workers talking with Kerry Davis, the first black woman to play for England football. Wow. So do have a listen, and if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, Social Matters, or on Instagram @Matters Podcast, or you can see our YouTube channel, the Social Matters Podcast. Bye-bye.
I forgot what I was doing. No, you didn't.
Bye-bye.